This week, we talk about new adversity, our secret social media strategy, and Grace's horrific haircut experience. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio Podcast. I'm your constant host, FDA, the CEO of Straight Shot Post and Straight Shot Studios, and with me, as always, is my constant co-host, Grace Santos, our Chief of Staff. Grace, how are you doing today?
You know, this week was a week. This week was a week. I think we have to start with the obvious, which is your hand. Yeah, show the visual audience. We have to explain this one to the audio audience.
Oh man, fine. We'll start here. I talk a lot about health and wellness. I talk a lot about how important it is to strength train. I talk a lot about how it's essential to my performance at my job. And a couple of days ago, I felt something off in my wrist when I was getting dressed in the morning. I would describe the pain as kind of like when you feel like you need to crack your anything, and it kind of hurts, but then once you crack it, you're relieved. It started like that, but the pain ended up getting more and more severe throughout the day, to the point where I was kind of like loosey-goosey. I was kind of like in and out by the end of that day. I don't know what your perspective was on it, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was not expecting, because I was working remotely, and then that day the pain was progressing as the day was going by. So I came to the office in the middle of the day, and I was listening to music, and I was in a very pumped up mood, and then I came in here and it was so bad. I felt so bad. You were just fighting for awakeness.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I mean, the pain was
what
debilitating.
Was going on. It was really intense. And you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
It's actually not, thank God. We immediately tried to figure out how I could see a doctor. I went as soon as I could the next morning to a sports doctor. And essentially it's just tendonitis, basically. I so far, I did x-rays, I did an ultrasound. I might have to do an MRI, but he was showing me in the ultrasound that there's basically fluid around. There are 6 tendons that might be easier to show on my right hand, but there are 6 tendons that run down your arm through your wrist. And so he basically was saying 1, 2, and 6 on my left hand were just really not happy.
And it's your dominant hand.
Yes, and I'm a lefty. And the thing is, I didn't. What's so frustrating about it is that I do take, or I thought I was taking the right precautions, as in I don't do dumb things like lifting super, super heavy weight when I'm not warmed up or prepped. I use wrist straps on certain exercises. But yeah, the doctor said this is most likely an overuse injury that, I know you were just putting your shirt on. You probably just moved it the wrong way, and that just was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. And now I'm out 4 to 6 weeks. And there was just so many emotions, I think. Especially because I didn't know what was going on, and I was very afraid that it was more serious. We still don't exactly know what the cause is, but it was
the unknown
scary.
Is what's scary, because I think back to when I hurt my back the first time was so many emotions, just crying every day, no one's ever going to help me, because I went to 3 doctors, and they all basically told me I was fine, and they saw nothing, and they took x-rays, and they're like, you're fine. And then I finally got a referral to go to PT, and then that helped. But yeah, so the first time was a mess, and then the second time I had the exact same thing exactly a year later. I at least knew what the course of action was. At an earlier stage, I was able to recognize it, and so prevent it from getting to where it got the first time. So definitely the not knowing adds so much turmoil.
Yeah, well, honestly, it hurts so much that I was like, I definitely need surgery. Chop this thing off.
I was I remember being I'm never going to walk again.
I swear, I was ready to lose my hand at one point.
Yeah, your mind goes to the worst places.
Yeah, I was cut this. It hurts so bad. Yeah, I was just cut it off anything to like just relieve the discomfort.
You said that how the
But
doctor was very, I mean, it's not the nicest feeling when they're like dismissive, but also like that's a good thing that he was like, yeah, it's fine.
I mean, I hope so. But he was just like, he was like moving my hand in a couple different directions. He's like, yeah, you messed up, dude. But, I've seen it before. Because what I said to him is I was like, tendonitis. And it hurts so much. And he was kind of just like, yeah. Like as in, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Because, I guess you have this kind of theory that if it's common, it can't be that bad.
Hurt. Yeah, that's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, I had that experience too. That's so funny. They're like, it's just this. And I'm like, well, but I'm in so much pain. And they're like, yeah. What do you want me to do about it?
And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like, it made me realize like pain is also, I don't know if subjective is the right word, but like individual.
Subjective. It's so funny though, because we're talking about, because I'm relating to you from my one bad injury I had, but it's a totally different pain. And like, who's to say what kind of pain is worse?
Totally. And like people's pain tolerances. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Different location. Yeah.
But all I can say is that this pain is definitely one I will not forget. I mean, it's killing me now. And this is now like 2-3 days later. And basically what the doctor said was, you're going to wear this cast. I'm going to give you some super strong anti-inflammatory medication, and if it doesn't feel better in like by Tuesday, so like 4 or 5 days, then maybe we have to like rethink it. But standard kind of course of action. I'm just gonna like do it religiously to a T, because really I've been extremely emotional, very mood swingy all week. This could be maybe a good lesson for young entrepreneurs. My strategy was keep me away. That was the actual strategy. It was keep me away from as many interactions as possible, because there's no way I can like do a good job right now. So Grace took as many meetings as she could, or I would keep my camera off, but I'd make sure she was in the room just in case I like wanted to go crazy and lose it. And we're pretty transparent at the company, so like I knew I was going to talk to them about it soon, but I also didn't want to talk to them about it until I knew what was going on, right?
Yeah.
But in typical INTJ fashion, I like would keep envisioning me having this meeting where I'm just like telling my team that I'm going to die or something, and they're like, and like giving this speech about like forging ahead and keep the flag moving forward. And you
did say that to me. You did say that to me.
Oh, definitely.
It's funny that you think that you were so mood swingy. Like, I get where you're coming from.
You're saying I wasn't irritable, like really?
I thought you handled it like any other person in pain.
Who knows, man? My mind was a prison this week, though. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't my friend this week. I was definitely.
Yeah, I was your friend.
Yes, it was key. I needed it because, like,
anytime you started giving me advice on my life, the pain would go away. That was like, maybe that's the life hack. If you're in,
don't focus on it.
Don't focus on it. Find something else to go off on.
Speaking of life advice, the day before all of this hell broke loose, we went to a industry mixer
where you doled out life advice.
This is gonna sound so bad.
Watch what you're gonna say. Watch what you're gonna say there.
They asked if people need it. Do you know what I'm saying? If people didn't need it, or like look or ask, I wouldn't give it. But every time I'm at these events, I hear the same things from these filmmakers. I'm like, well, the answers are out there. Like right now, all of the tools to build an audience for yourself. If you are complaining about other people having control over your work, that no one gets to see it, yada, 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 there are some advice. Get on YouTube. Learn what people want to see. Use all the tools that you have to build an audience, right? So, yeah.
It is actually so interesting because when we go to these events, it does feel kind of not archaic, but Yeah, archaic. I mean, I was in an actor bubble for so long, and when people go to these events and talk about films, and there's a bubble for it. But I talk to my friends outside the bubble, like my doctor friends, my business friends, and they don't know anything about any movies, and they're just like, I just want to watch YouTube. So you have a point. But it feels weird bringing that into this archaic space. Not that I'm not shitting on it. I'm not saying anything bad about the archaic space. Like, I like it.
Like, here's what I will complain about. It's that they like want both. They like refuse to accept the direction the world's heading. Do you know what I mean? And so you can see they're like fighting a battle. They're just complaining and blaming everything else, kind of. That's what I mean. Are you really going to judge the people? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you don't watch TikTok, bro? Really? You never watch TikTok? You don't like Instagram and YouTube at all? You never use those platforms? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you should at least respect what about this stuff works. But again, this is the artist versus craftsman mentality. And I'll tell you, the person that was most receptive was this autistic gentleman who's 21, who's making moves, man. Kid's got 5 interns under him, making films about people with disabilities, for people with disabilities, and made by people with disabilities. And I was so impressed, and ironically, he said that he interviewed for me 2 years ago, but he was so grateful to have me talk to him there. He was the guy that was receptive when I said, bro, treat it like a variety show. Like, you have a strong niche. Like, your ECPMs will be high, as in like the value of the ads on your content is going to be high because it's so targeted to a group that needs services, right? Medications and programs, that like the value of putting an ad on your platform is going to be really good. So instead of like, so you have your options. I said, it's not that you can't go the traditional route. Of course, if somebody gives you $1 million to go make a film, make the film. But also, you can connect with brands and sponsors and get on the YouTube and start making short films and mini docs and informational content about disabilities and and build that audience 100%. I was like, at 21, I said, you just have to not think about it until you're 30. Like, put your head down and make great content over and over and over for your audience in your niche. And you will definitely see growth. I was like 100%. And he was the most receptive guy. He was like, oh, I'm going to take that idea. Oh, I like this, he was receptive, which was cool. And then obviously it was always good to see my good friend Ramphis, who launched his production company. He's definitely more on the traditional side. So I kept telling his team, his interns and his team, that I was like, where his blind spots are, I will fill them, because he has he has a whole set of skills and stuff that I don't have. You know what I mean? And so he is very much on the traditional set. And I was like, let me take all your stuff into the 21st century. You know what I'm saying? So I think what it means is that there are just different routes and different sets of opportunities. And I think it's a self-awareness game. Like, I don't like this. It's so slow the other way, and so lucky. It feels like you have to get so lucky. Whereas what we're doing here, we're starting small, but we got 100 subs on our channel in a month, or 78, I think I saw recently. And I was like, that's going to be 78,000 soon enough.
Do you want to talk about what we're doing to start? I feel like it'd be funny to look back in even a year, reflecting on how we're starting, because we're very confused.
Yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my studio team. Ironically, I confused them when I was clear of headed, and now that I'm in pain, I'm very sure about what I said earlier in the week. But basically, we're changing strategies, and I've been doing a lot of research on this kind of stuff, and going viral never hurts. I guess that's the simplest way to start. It's a content company, right? we are going to be making original stories on webtoons, in comics, so eventually animation, really heavy leaning in on the internet. So, YouTube and webtoons and things like that. Storytelling for the digital era, basically. So I want to do Pixar. Pixar for the internet is what our goal is. We decided that we were going to start working hard on YouTube Shorts and TikTok and all of that because that's the place where you can get the most traction for your time. It is working, just slow and steady, but it is working. And we're seeing some different things work and not work, but I remembered listening to like Brendan Kane talk, and he was, he's one of these big social media guys basically, and said, yeah, like go viral. Like if you go viral, it never hurts. And it's like top of the funnel, right? If you want to think about it that way. So now the strategy has shifted to like just try to go viral with every piece. Now to be clear, viral in our niche. So viral for webtoons, manga, etc., which is when I said, great, let's just make anime content. There's definitely a bigger market for anime than the others, and it'll trickle down. And then I was getting pushback from my team. Like, what if we get the wrong people? And I guess this is the question and debate I would pose. Is it better to get 100 of the right people or 1 million of mostly the wrong people? Obviously, there's two sides to it. Everybody wants to feel like their work matters. I get that. But I'm going to just give you my simple answer to it, which is it's always better to go viral because even percentage-wise, as it trickles down, you're going to have more than 100 that matter at the end of the line.
The thing, I mean, when you pose it like that, the obvious answer is, going viral is better. I think the question is how different is it? Because if the scenario was we want webtoons fans, but then we're going to try to go viral with trucking content like trucks, that would totally be off. So I think it's the matrix between the two topics, or that's where it really comes down to.
Trucker content can go viral, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So anything can go viral, right? I don't know why, bro, but the recent thing I gotten into was ecosystems. These guys on YouTube. See, exactly. These guys on YouTube will like get a terrarium and just like make an underwater ecosystem and then like film it for like a month, and you can see like how it changes.
You started watching after you hurt your hand?
Probably, bro. Point is, those get millions of views, right? And you're like, who the hell is interested in that? Okay. That's my point, where I'm like, hey, within our niche, we're definitely capable. Like, there's no way that you would say like worms and cephalopods are capable of getting millions of views on YouTube, but they do. So that's the argument I'm making, which is like we can go viral in our niche if you can find a way to hit broader audiences and then funnel them into our show, basically.
So you think, funneling from trucking content to webtoons?
No, but like anime is in our niche. Like anime makes sense with manga, webtoons.
Right. Okay.
And maybe there's other things that I'm doing, that was the first thing that came into my head, right? That I knew had broad potential, but like American comics, Avengers, Marvel, like all of that is also adjacent, but definitely, right? You could see a world where they're somewhat connected. So it's the same thing I was saying with the Ryan Serhant example that Brendan Kane gives, which is basically his market is multi-million dollar New York apartments. He's a real estate agent, right? That's a very niche market of people that are interested in that.
Yeah.
However, he finds a way to make videos that have mass appeal. So if he can do it in a super niche market, then obviously so can we, is kind of my argument. There's always that's what I'm trying to tell my team is like, but if you're not trying to do it, then it's never going to happen. So just like think big, figure out how to go viral first, because how is that ever not a valuable thing to like understand how to connect and broaden an audience and really hit something that can trend or play off of trends. Like that's always valuable. But that was the big shift in direction.
I've been here long enough to understand the importance of go, like what you're saying, if it's good to go viral. Prior to coming here, I don't know if I would have understood that, and I would have thought that's such a shallow way to see it and the wrong approach. And why are you going after the viral? Why aren't you going after the good work? But you would say the good work is knowing how to go viral.
Yeah, but if you do good work, theoretically you will get an audience, right? So it's not about ever not doing good work. As in, like, I agree with you, right? Like, doing something that's incredibly popular, if you're good, is incredibly valuable. If you're bad, it won't last. So anybody can have their 15 minutes of fame. But who can be prolific? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, get the audience, because I think we're going to be dominant. So it doesn't matter who the fuck they are. If we have millions of people looking, I feel very confident we'll be able to deliver work that will move them. At least a portion of them. And again, even if you trickle it down, and even if we only capture 10,000 of that million, so that's like 1/100th, right? Yeah. Or 1/1000th, I think, even. So it's like, if you think about that, it's still 10,000. That's awesome. If 10,000 people bought your book, you're good, right? Every time you put out a book, at least 10,000 people were paying. You would be happy. And, you know, so I think it's something, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, is like, all right, let's figure out how to get some attention, man.
What have you decided? I know you had a studios meeting today. I was not there.
The studios meeting was a lot more about long form. We didn't talk much about short because the strategy for short is set. Long form is still a bit confusing, but we're just trying to work out different types of content that we can make surrounding our hero content, which is our webtoon, right? So essentially, it's kind of looking like every piece of content outside, every long form piece of content outside of the animated webtoons themselves is marketing for the webtoon in some way. So a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of getting to know the creators. So far, it's like that. Aside from maybe things that we try that might work, like, so for example, Grace here is half Japanese and half Brazilian. She speaks Portuguese, English, Spanish, would you say?
If you're counting Portuguese, I definitely count Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 4 English. So English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Japanese, right? And randomly a little bit of Romanian, but we don't have to count that. So we're going to definitely be doing that, having fun with those things. So we're going to be also probably launching or trying to work with a sub versus dub kind of content, which I actually think is fun. So Grace will listen to things in English and Japanese and then debate or complain or enjoy.
I was always told as a kid, I only spoke English and Japanese when I was really young, and everyone would always say, you're going to be, the world is your oyster. You're going to have so many opportunities. And I was always confused by that. But who would have thought that the world of opportunity was dub versus sub?
But hopefully more. Hopefully we can get into Japan and actually forge relationships there, right? With some incredible artists over there. Yeah. But for now, yes, and multi-language voiceovers also.
Oh yeah.
Because now on YouTube you can do it. So like 100%, dude, you're definitely doing it. We're definitely doing a Japanese version of the webtoon.
I would have to I'm really interested to learn Japanese voice acting because it is a different beast. The way they act there is so different. And I mean, they have special acting schools for that in Japan. That used to be my mom's dream for me to do that. But yeah, if I do that, I would love to.
You can make it come true.
Yeah.
That would be great. I'd love to do sub versus dub one day of our own content. And you don't really know what's the sub or the dub because technically it was English creators and stuff. But that would be fun. That's sort of what we're working on. I was also showing them some of the thumbnails. So we started working on some of these episodes for the webtoon. Super excited about that. Ironically, we're not actually starting with the first episode. We're starting with episode 3 and 4 because the first 2 are not necessarily indicative of like a standard episode, I guess, from a structure standpoint.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that's why I decided. I mean, if you look at the third and the fourth episode, maybe they'll put up some images or something here. But essentially, there's a dialogue scene, there's a montage scene, there's a fantasy scene, there's a flashback. So basically, every kind of scene we would do is in those 2 episodes. And I figured that was the best place to start, so we kind of get some rules set up for each one of these types of scenes, and it actually worked out really well. So there are styles and structures that got infused into the way we do our fantasy scenes, our flashback scenes, et cetera, and it was really always such a good learning experience to see how things look on the page. And I actually got to say, if anyone is nerdy about this stuff, like webtoons versus regular comics, like, and I'm definitely like a futurist, I guess, but I'm like, webtoons format is way better, and I'm down to we could start this debate like right now. Like, why would I be constrained to the page if I don't have to be? That's all.
The page, as in the page break.
The page, yes, a page on a comic, right?
What you're saying is that you like the infinite scroll.
I think there's more you can do
with infinite scroll.
Yeah, like there's more I can play with in pacing, in the where I'm putting the dialogue and the positioning. For any given story beat, I have more options for how to execute it, because if you remember when we did our comic last year, it was like, okay, so this is what happens, but we kind of want to make sure we can execute it in like 3 panels tops.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So because we really need to make sure this is on this page and that this big wide shot is when they turn.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like, bro, it's just like, if I want to be really intricate and have a bunch of little panels for this moment, it doesn't really affect things that happen later. Like, the thing can be as long as it needs to be, or as short as it needs to be. I think it's just faster. It's a more efficient medium. To me, vertical scrolling format feels much more like fluid storyboards than a comic book. And I kind of like, I don't know, it has more of a, I don't want to say cinematic, but it has more of a flow for some reason. This is just from probably what our style is, which is so tries to push boundaries that, like, not having limitations is better for us. We create our own. So that's been a huge journey of the week and a lot of fun to see it happen. Our illustrator is just awesome. Super great personality.
Yeah. Yes.
It's just really nice to have somebody so, like,
very sunny,
dedicated to their one thing, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of like the sound guy on set.
Who?
The sound guys. The sound guys are always the chillest.
Like. Oh.
They're just like, let me do my thing, bro. And I'm like, and no one questions them, you know, because no one wants to mess with the sound.
Yeah.
So they're just like in their own little zone, and they all super nerdy about their thing, and you're just like, hey, whatever you tell me, bro. You know, and then they leave early and shit. You know, and they're just their own world, the sound guy.
I want to know about the sound guys. I want to read like a Reddit thread of the sound
definitely
guys. What do they do?
Yeah. The sound guys are like the drummers of the band, kind of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of what he reminds me of.
Well, that's been the day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I guess I was so grateful for you this week. So grateful to have you on my team, and also just like be the kind of person that you are. So, but I was curious, as in Grace was extremely helpful. I think definitely more than what her job title would indicate. And I'm very grateful for that, considering, you know, I wasn't at my best. She really helped keep things together. What is, you know, as we wrap this up, what is your perspective on it? On how the week went?
Oh, how the week went.
Yeah.
The week, I feel like It's funny, we talked about productivity a few episodes ago about how you said you weren't feeling productive. And I feel like I didn't feel productive this week. And that's probably because I was helping you out more often. It wasn't bad. It felt different. I wasn't on the computer a lot. I wasn't crunching numbers. I wasn't talking to anyone aside from you. But it's definitely a unique week. I have to say, this is what is interesting about my job is I never know what to expect. So I think it was fun. We got to hang.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
know.
I hate that you're in pain. I feel bad, but
I think, I get frustrated. I beat myself over this stuff too, honestly. I just keep hoping that I'm like, I hope we just like net positive over time. As in like, okay, yeah. This was a down week, but would it have been worse if we didn't like come together?
Do this? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, well,
I do know that it felt better emotionally to have somebody here.
That's good. And your rainbow cookie.
That rainbow cookie, man. She bought me a single rainbow cookie. That was like the highlight of my night. It was so lovely. But still in that period, though, where a lot is happening. It's just we're not seeing really the fruits of the labor yet,
Yeah.
Which is very similar to last week, except this week had a whole set of different challenges. And, I've been reading a lot more of Bob Iger's memoirs that he says aren't memoirs. And I guess what's interesting about that is like, he's not an entrepreneur, but he's so legendary.
He's not?
Yeah, exactly. No, man. He started working at he's worked for basically one company his whole life. He was at ABC. ABC got bought. He was at the company that bought ABC. Disney got bought. He was at Disney.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just a guy.
Just an excellent employee who grew and became the CEO of Disney.
Wow.
See, like all I really knew of him is that Steve Jobs decided that he would sell to him. And I was like, well, that means if Steve likes him, then he's got to be legit. Because Steve hated Will the hell, Iger. I think it's like Eisner and Iger or something. Will Eisner and Bob Iger. How hard is that one? Jeez. So yeah, Will Eisner was the CEO before Bob took over, and Steve Jobs hated him. So that's why he didn't sell to Disney then. So Bobby has a good reputation, and that's why I'm like really fascinated with his story. But genuinely, it's just like I worked my ass off and learned along the way from mentors and other people, and just kept going. And I was like, damn, like if you do good work for a long enough time, you will get noticed, is what it felt like. Mm-hmm. But you just got to do it. And that's scary and hard. So, yeah.
Wait, I was also going to say, I noticed a significant... Well, I think this is going back to how our week went. I mean, I came to the office 4 times this week. And I usually come 3 or 2. And I feel a difference. I committed to a bunch of things outside of work. And I committed thinking that it would be, only 3 or 2 days coming into the office. And when I come in every day, that's basically a 4-hour difference in the week. 4 hours that I normally had to allot to other things that I don't now have. So I don't want to be complaining because I know there are people who work full-time jobs in an office. Like, it's a normal thing, but feeling the difference of it was significant.
I mean, I would say. That's a really interesting perspective. One that I don't think about because I'm always working. Like, there's never me going, there's no, right? Like, this is the office, so it's not like I'm ever even going to have an option. Mm-hmm. But I guess the thing for me, in a similar vein, is unexpected and uncontrollable, like, changes, I guess. Like, if you recall, I was complaining, like, why can't I just catch like a break and just like have like a chunk of time where nothing, there's no fires, which is never gonna, I realize that's never gonna happen, but I'm still just like, why is this the way that it is? Do you know what I mean? It's okay. I'm stoic about it all, but it's definitely something that I pondered, just like, this was so unnecessary. Like, this is not, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? If there's a God up there, I didn't need this to prove something to me. I was already thinking it. So, just chalk it up to more adversity to overcome. But yeah, I understand, I guess, how you feel from the sense of like, well, this isn't what I planned for. Same thing that's going on with some of our projects right now that are going into quite a bit of overtime. Also somewhat like we kind of thought it might, but like, I'm kind of honest to God a little bit surprised about how every night till 9:00 we've been working all week. That's not really, I don't understand that. I don't understand why it's like that exactly.
Yeah.
So things to work on there. But overall, definitely a week of unexpected difficulties, and how you push up against that, how you overcome that, I think is that's what character is about. You know what I'm saying? This is it.
Yeah. So you want to wrap it up?
Let's do it.
Take it to the tip. Do you have one, or can I say one?
If you got one, go for it, because there's nothing that's coming to the top of my head.
Okay, I wanted to hop on a soapbox about haircuts, because I went to get a haircut, and okay, I mean, I feel like I have to get, my situation is a little specific, because I used to always be taken to a Japanese hairstylist, because my mom is Japanese and she has Japanese hair, and I'd get a Japanese person haircut, which is like a straight haircut, and I never looked good. I don't think. I didn't like how it turned out. And then it dawned on me, maybe I shouldn't be going to Japanese people if my hair is kind of wavy, curly. And so my friend, who has similar hair texture to me, recommended me a person. I went to that person in the summer. He was awesome, and I loved my haircut. For the first time, I felt like my features were taking into account when building the style, and it worked. And then I tried to find the same person, but he wasn't available during off work hours. So I went to the same place, but a different person. And I saw a little bit of her profile, and I was like, okay. And I just decided to go to her, and immediately I felt like she was stressed, which made me nervous, because I think she just had a long day and she was tired, but that made me nervous. I was like, oh no, I don't want someone stressed cutting my hair. And I kind of explained to her, I started explaining to her what I wanted, and I'm used to the hairstylist going really in depth, asking me all these questions and being like, where do you want the bang to go, and what kind of shampoo do you use? We usually get into that. But she just listened to me. I said, I kind of want my bangs here and do this, blah, blah, blah. I want layers and a little face framing. And she said, okay. And that was it. And I was a little bit like, she didn't even ask me to show her reference pictures. I had reference pictures, but I didn't show them. We go to the haircut. She starts cutting my hair. She starts doing bangs styling them in a way that I did not want them styled. I was like, shit. Oh no. But then I didn't know what to do, because it was already cut and it was there. So I didn't say anything. And again, she seemed upset. I had never experienced a haircut where they don't talk at all. Usually they really talk, but she said like a few times, oh, pretty, but that was it. And then she cut my hair, and this is another thing to get on the soapbox for. Every time I've cut my hair, they always blow dry it, and it's just like poofy. Either it's super straight, which is not indicative of how I'm going to wear it, or it's super poofy. And she did it like puffed out. Like I looked like a mushroom, and I started freaking out. I was like, oh no, is this going to be my hair? And I was holding back tears as she said, did you like it? I said, sure. And I fork over so much money for that. And so I guess I learned the lesson of, I mean, I should go in depth with what I want in a haircut. Like, be clear about it. You can't be too clear about it. But luckily enough, well, so I was walking home. I was so upset. I was on the verge of tears. The next day, I immediately rewashed my hair and did it how I like. It turned out to be fine. I actually don't look that different from how I used to look, but that was a scare. And so I learned my lesson there in a safe way. Thank God I ended up with the hair I wanted. But yeah, and be clear.
Yeah.
I think this might be more of a girl thing, or people with longer hair.
Sure. Yeah.
Or people with more like, what do you call it? Elaborate hairstyles. But yeah, good lesson.
Like we try to read our clients all the time like that. So it's just funny because like as soon as we would have seen a client acting like that, we would have probably like gotten into a separate call, been like, all right, he might be having a problem with his wife, or like this might be going on. Let's make sure we treat the emails this way, or make sure that you were responsive in this manner. Like don't bring these things up in conversation. That I'm sure like if I sat down and I saw that, I mean, you just know you're getting they're not even, you could tell that they're not focused on you.
Yeah. That's hard because I can't just walk out.
No. Yeah. And maybe the real pro tip is like, you got to find ways to make sure, talk about this week. Maybe this just sums up the theme is like, if that lady let her personal life affect her work and her craft, you know, like take the day, dude.
Yeah.
Because like that, you will never, I assume you'll never get your hair cut by her again, right?
Probably. I mean, it ended up being fine, but probably not, you know,
yeah, but
just the experience.
If you almost cried because of someone cutting your hair, I doubt you. Yeah. That's kind of what I mean. It's like it actually doesn't benefit you.
It's so sad though, because the end result was good ultimately, but the experience kind of ruined it.
But we talk about we talk about that all the time here too.
Game. Yeah.
It's a game of people. Exactly. Like, because you remember the feeling. I know that stuck with you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of why we focus so hard on that here at the company. Which again, I think I spoke about the Bob Iger story in the last podcast about how he was given all this terrible news on a very important day and he still had to execute. You know, that's what it is sometimes. So I have a lot of respect for that. And like, if you can't do it, take the day, you know?
Yeah.
Get healthy, so that you can do good work. It's very interesting, but you're through it. I will say, I did not notice. So that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Questions?
I ran out of the cards, so now it's going to take a hot second, but you can go first.
Sure. Grace, what's your favorite dessert?
Whoa. Wow. I was recently asked this, and I actually didn't really know how to answer because I'm such a fan of pastries. They're not exactly dessert. Pastries as in croissants, danishes, that kind of thing is my absolute favorite. Like flaky pastry.
There is a YouTube video of you somewhere eating pastry.
Oh my God. Yeah. The videos I made, but in the pandemic, my mom and I ordered care packages from Supermoon Bakehouse in the Lower East Side, and they would send pastries and I would review them, and I edited videos of that. I got decent views from that.
Surprise.
Just so stupid. Okay. Favorite dessert? Does a cookie count?
Yes.
Okay, I gotta say cookies. Fresh baked cookies. Not like an Oreo, but I am a cookie monster. All kinds of cookies. I love it.
You don't have a favorite cookie, bro?
Okay, a favorite cookie.
Because, like, yeah, come on.
Not a peanut butter, maybe a chocolate chip, not a snickerdoodle. I do like snickerdoodles. Ooh, maybe that. I just said not, and then maybe that. No. I like the chocolate cookie with peanut butter chips at Levon, but a lot of people don't like that place anymore.
Dark girl, pick a cookie. I'm like so curious. I'm just like, kind of this one, kind of that one.
I'll say. Let me just say a classic chocolate chunk cookie, not chocolate chip, chocolate chunk. I'll say
That's
that.
my favorite. Dark chocolate
So
only for me.
Good.
Dark chocolate
So
chunk would be
good.
my favorite.
Wait, chocolate chunk cookie that my friend Derek Mulkins makes. I'm gonna shout him. I mean, he's never gonna see this, but my friend makes these awesome cookies that are so good. I mean, I'm so picky about cookies, and friends often bake me cookies, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm kind of like, oh, do I really have to eat this? That's so rude. No, I'm appreciative when friends make me cookies, but when Derek makes me a cookie, oh my God. When he went off to London for a few months last year, and before he left, he gave me 2 raw dough for his cookie to put in my freezer so I can make it while he was gone, so I didn't miss him too much. It's so good.
Damn, that's lucky.
Yeah, I love them. Anyway, okay, that's my answer. Took me a while to get there.
You got there though.
I got there. It's a hard question. If you had to choose, I'm kind of going the same realm. If you had to choose an after dinner beverage, you're going out to dinner, 3-course, a nice dinner, and then now you're closing with some kind of beverage. What would you choose?
You're talking about a nightcap.
Yeah. It could be alcoholic. It could be tea or coffee, anything.
You know what? So it's funny that you mentioned that because I don't drink coffee. It wouldn't be coffee. It could be tea now. I started drinking tea this week. So green tea, black tea in the morning. But I would have to say cognac.
Oh.
Remy Martin in particular, oddly enough.
Never had cognac. Okay.
And that's more of a, I guess it's like my parents' kind of a tradition. They bring out the fancy little glass. They pour just like a little shot in, basically. You sip it. It's all warm. And cognac is kind of sweeter. That definitely would be the nightcap. And I know that when my parents hear this, they're going to know exactly what I mean. And yeah. So 100%. That's probably what it would be. And I'm not a big drinker or anything either, but
cool.
But yeah. That's a good one.
Okay.
Nice memories. All right, guys, you know the sound off. As always, work hard, be nice, and keep changing. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much, and wish me good luck. Peace.